Okay, I'm Dave Kleiner. I'm from Toyota Motor North America, and we're going to have a little conversation here. Oops, maybe we won't. Oh, okay, let's go back a little bit. So the topic here is creating a 3D car buying experience, which actually is a misnomer. We did this by accident. I was actually trying to create a dealer training tool. So this happened over a period of time, in fact, years. I came into Toyota and I started out as the chief of staff in one of the IT organizations. Didn't like what we were doing in the world of immersive tech, so I kind of created my own job by standing up a little R&D group. We called it Applied Tech Research Lab. And the idea was we'd go out and act as internal consultants and try to help solve real world problems with technology. And one was how we're doing marketing and sales with immersive tech. Now on the manufacturing side, we're way ahead of what we can do on the sales side. Manufacturing, we have a full catalog of digital twins. We're using them for plan of the future and visualization. We're using them for training assets. And we're doing this all internally. We're using very few external vendors, and that allows us to be lean and fast. However, on the marketing side, we haven't had as much luck. I joined in 2016, so when I came in, they were just finishing this bold experiment with HMDs. And I forgot which headset it was, but Lexus said, hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna offer an entire showroom and our catalog on a headset. And this, like I said, was 2015, 2016 timeframe. And it didn't go very well, but we learned a lot. And a lot of those lessons learned, honestly, we haven't seen addressed in the past 8 years. We're still having the same friction points. So we stayed away from the HMDs as far as a sales tool just because we know what we're getting into. And we don't want to repeat that mistake. So when I came in, I said, well, let's do a little better. Everyone has an iPhone or an Android device. So they have an AR device in their pocket. Like, let's start utilizing this as a way to educate our customers. And it started out with the one in the upper right-hand corner, the blue NX, and that was my first one. And what it really was a dealer training tool where we were trying to train Lexus personnel about the new vehicle that was coming out without having to fly them to a central location, train them up, and then be ready to go. Hope they remember everything for the vehicle release. The idea was the showroom is the classroom. They could train at any time by just using their phone. So I added a little bit of machine learning. And so it would recognize the vehicle, and then it would call up the right information. It worked inside the vehicle as well as without the vehicle. What you're seeing here is it was showing without the vehicle, where it's projecting the center console. And the idea was to walk through all the ADAS features and the features in the head unit and things like that. Initially, like I said, it was a training tool, but it's kind of became a user manual. And we proposed doing this instead of doing our users manuals because over the years they've gotten bigger and bigger and they weigh a lot more. But there's been some legal issues there where we couldn't do that. So that kind of fizzled, but we learned from that. The next one here was with the Forerunner, that's kind of highlighted blue. We did this for an auto show about 2018 timeframe where we had a vehicle up on some kind of rugged environment, and we'd have an iPad kind of mounted on a device or on a pole, and you look through the iPad and you could get this X-ray view and it'd show how all the TRD components work. And the idea was that you need to upgrade your SR5 edition to a TRD Pro because now you can do all this really cool off-road stuff. And that started working as a pretty good education tool, but again, it was too focused. Both of these were just too focused. They're almost like point solutions. So then I said, well, we can do better. Let's try to do something that's more broad. So in the lower right, we called this our Lexus showroom. And this was an attempt to do a full experience. Again, we're in the iOS device, and what we did here, the gray NX is, well, that was my car actually, and the white one's a projection. So we were trying to do photorealism with the existing iOS. And we wanted people to basically do a virtual try-on. We kind of borrowed from IKEA. We're like, we want to know, does this vehicle fit in my spot? What does it look like? I can walk around it. I can interact with it. We had hot spots all over it. You can do an interior tour, an exterior tour. And then all it's kind of covered up right now. There were 3 key buttons you had to have because we didn't want this to be in isolation. We had to bring the person back into our existing sales channel. So there was schedule a test drive was one button, contact a dealer, and then a buy now. Because if you got them hooked early, you got to capitalize on that. And we got a lot of attention on that, but we didn't do it didn't push it to full production. At the same time, I was trying to solve the accessory problem where we don't educate our folks very well on what accessories you can put on a vehicle, especially with the Tacoma 4Runner, and a Tundra. You can accessorize those vehicles to death. So what happened here is that silver Tacoma there is a real vehicle, and the sideboards, the wheels, and the roof rack are all AR projections on top of it. So we're basically using SLAM to do that. And at the same time, as they were doing it, it would call up the price for those devices, or for those accessories. And here too, we were doing image recognition, so not only were we locking on, but it would recognize that's a two-door short bed, and it would give you those accessories to choose from, as opposed to anything with a longer bed or a smaller cab size. Both of these got a lot of attention. I had dealers, and actually I showed off, this one here is called the TAR. I showed this one off at Augmented World Expo a couple of years ago, and I didn't know there were a lot of dealers in the audience, and they started calling me. So I said, well, don't call me, call the CEO. And I was doing it kind of as a joke, but they actually did. And now all of a sudden, I'm invited up to the 5th floor, and I'm going, oh my God, they're gonna fire me, in some kind of crazy, throw me out the window or something. And I'm talking to the number 1 and number 2 guy of sales, and they had both the TAR up and the Lexus showroom, and they're going, this is interesting what you're doing here, but you're not making any friends, and you're working way too hard. I'm like, what? I don't get it. I thought I was doing wonderful things. And these guys told me flat out, it's like, don't give me another expletive app to download. I don't want to download an app. I'm like going, okay. I'm like, so what do you want? And they're like, all right, you're working way too hard here. We don't need a photorealism. I said, we sell commodity cars, and we sell them in mass. So it goes, why are you wasting your time? We'll never get our money back by doing that. I said, do something that's good enough. You're not trying to fool the chief engineer. You're just trying to convince a casual person that this is a nice car and I want to buy it, and just give them an education. And he goes, and as far as the projection goes, he goes, we only need that for the cars that are too big. The Tundra and our Sequoia. Those are the only ones people complain it doesn't fit in my garage. So you don't have to do that. We know all the other cars fit in the garages. He goes, accessories, we like that idea, be able to fly them on, tell them what the cost is. But he goes, we don't like what the other guys have been doing in marketing sales, so you have to start playing nice with them, because they keep doing AR experiences as a checklist item. They just find the cheapest bidder, they do something, they project a car onto your coffee table, maybe go around the room or something, but it doesn't give them a real buying experience. It doesn't bring them into our sales channel. So he goes, no more gimmicks, I want something real, come back in 4 weeks with a better plan. And I'm walking out there going, what kind of advice is this? Do better? What do they want? So, I meant this is kind of our timeline here. We've kind of did the iOS thing after HMDs didn't work out too well. Now we're more focused on web-based, and then we're starting to reintroduce the idea of a Quest 3. And the reason why we've held off on any type of headset is that because of the bad experiences, or the lessons learned, I should say, we had back in 2015. We also think that the Quest 3 with the price point is something that more consumers will have. So we're kind of waiting for that consumer market to adopt the headset before we start selling in a headset again. So that's why it's on our long-term plan. But anyways, I was told to do better. So I came back with a different plan. I said, look, instead of relying on everyone having a phone, how about something else that everyone has? Everyone has a web browser. And it doesn't matter if the buyer is 16 years old or 80 years old, they know how to use some device that has a web browser. They have one. We're going to be platform agnostic, so we're not tying into anybody. It's going to be intuitive, they know how to use it, and available anytime, anywhere. They're going, okay, how are you doing this? And I said, well, all right, we're going to do this mostly in-house. I'm going to augment us with a staff of really good artists to kind of help us out. But what we're really going to do is we're going to put this on Amazon Web Services. And I'm going outside the normal IT channels, because this is experimental. And we're also going to kind of play with the React 3 stack, because IT doesn't know how to support this yet. It's outside all our norms. I want to do one car to see how it works. I gave them the initial price, and I showed them a spend on it. And every time we do this, we're going to get faster and cheaper to the point that we can stabilize at a lower price. They loved it. They're like, good, because we can't keep doing it at a high price, but if you get it down to a low price, this is something we can do, because we have to expand to all 40 vehicles at some point that we sell in North America. So you can't spend a whole lot of money. And then the biggest thing they wanted was a shared experience. Well, we learned when you put on a headset, you now have an isolating experience. You can't share what you're seeing with anyone else. If you're in a dealership, you don't have that conversation going. It becomes too isolating. So we want this to be shared, and we definitely wanted unrestricted access to the catalog. So the way I finally sold this was, because they were kind of iffy on it still, I said, look, Metaverse was hot at this time. This is like 3 years ago. I said, this is the poor man's Metaverse. You're going to come out ahead. And they're like, you mean I can go golfing with my buddies from GM and tell them I'm in the Metaverse and I don't need a headset? I'm like, yeah. He's like, done. Go make this happen. I'm like, okay, great. Where's the funding? Well, you got to talk to my deputies. You got to play nice with everyone and try to find some funding. So before the Crown came along, I was told we're going to do the electric vehicles. Well, the electric vehicle launch didn't go as planned, so that got scrapped. And I said, oh, we're reintroducing our hydrogen-powered vehicle to Mirai. Well, they wanted some hard numbers. They said, if we're going to invest in this, I want to guarantee that it's going to lead to sales. Well, no one has that data. I even called our partner BMW and said, you've been doing this longer than us. What are the returns here? You know, when you do an AR experience, what are the sales numbers to expect? They're like, we don't know. We never tracked that. We just said a sale's a sale. So Mirai said, no, we're not going to do this. So Crown came calling, and this was almost 3 years later. I get this call out of the blue, and they say, hey, look, we got a problem. We decided to sell the Crown in North America, and we haven't sold a Toyota Crown in 50 years in this market. And the president of the company, Mr. Toyota, he drives one, and it's like his favorite car. And the history of this, before there was Lexus, this was the luxury car. So if you were anybody in Japan, you had this car and a driver. So this is it. We can't mess up. So I'm like, all right, well, so what's the problem? Oh yeah, we just started the sales campaign, so the ads have started, and we don't have any cars in North America. They're en route. And we have to train all the dealers. I'm going, well, how do you normally train dealers? And they go, well, we usually do a press kit, but that's cardboard cutouts and things, and we put them on the car, and it kind of highlights the things they're supposed to know. Then before people start coming into the showroom, they kind of take the press kit down because everyone should have memorized it, and they should be in business. But I'm like, okay, no car, that means no press kit. So how much time do we have? They're like, well, first shipment arrives, they're like, 8 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, like how are we gonna do this? We don't have any reference photos. I can't get the CAD because it's locked in a safe in Japan. Like, what's going on here? So we quickly, I got a team together, we scoured the website, we went to the global Toyota site, we found some reference images, we cheated, we went to Hum3D, we found basically some drawings we could use, and we beefed that up. And then the first car that came to the headquarters, we went and did some quick photos of the inside, we did a pano. But it was a race, and we were working for 8 weeks like crazy. So what happened was this. So that's what we came up with. And my outside partner was Groove Jones. They did all the artwork and the design, so I did a little commercial there. So I delivered exactly what I promised. We can use it on any browser. We had, from all the lessons learned from the iOS attempts I did, they're in here. So as far as the accessories go, that car only had one accessory, it was the wheels, and it probably went by too quickly. But we had hotspots inside and out. You could look at it day and night, inside and out. And this was only a dealership training tool. So we had a little QR code we mailed out to the dealers, and we weren't expecting this to go anywhere. It's not on the Toyota.com site. And all of a sudden, dealers started calling back. They called back to the guy I was just briefing. They said, this is the best training tool we've ever had. It's like, are you sure this is just for training? And they then told our North American CEO, who's from Japan as well. He loved it, and he's like, you know what? He calls back to Japan and says, look what my guys did. You guys been selling crowns for 50 years? My guys are better than your guys. They came up with the best, and I didn't realize that at the C level, they compete like that across geographies. I'm going, holy cow, I made the big boss look great. Well, now all of a sudden, the dealers were like, well, this is such a great training tool, we're gonna start using it to sell, because again, the shortage of vehicles, as soon as they came in, they were selling them. So they had nothing to put in the showroom, so they said, well, we'll just put up a kiosk and just show this off. This way, it addressed all their problems. I don't have to pay for a car to sit in here. I can give people unlimited access to every color, accessory, and combination there's out there, and let them decide. Well, in the meantime, we're getting a good press here, and we didn't think much about it. Then all of a sudden, we started winning awards. And this was a big surprise because this wasn't the goal. So we wound the Nix Markham Gold Award, Grand Award. That was the platinum level for best automotive. We won 2 Vega Awards and 2 Hermes Awards, and as well as a Muse. And again, we didn't know we were now setting a standard because we didn't. That wasn't the intent. So something as simple as just a WebGL site that was easy to use, lightweight, good enough as far as visualization goes, got out a recognition from outside, even validation. So as I like to say, we were validated that we built the right solution, we built it correctly. So, but what did we really build? I kind of went into this with a game plan. I said I had experience from a few years ago, and yeah, it was a dealer education tool. That's how we sold it. But I also knew it had a dual purpose. It could always be used as a sales tool, and that's something I learned early on. Like, why make two solutions when one will work just fine for both? And then I also built this to be reusable. So once we built our framework, I can easily upload another model, and it can be a different vehicle, and we can have the same experience. And then what I was really concerned with was data collection, because I had to prove to all the naysayers that yes, immersive tech will help us sell a vehicle. And I also wanted to know what was going on. So what we were tracking here, and again, this is just a North American dealer release. When I put this on international, we had a lot of hits from Japan and from around the world that we weren't expecting. Our dealership numbers are a little bit skewed here because headquarters is in Texas, so Texas is going to be a little high. And that's a normal curve. We had our big press release, and then it kind of comes down. And then in the next 6 weeks, I'll probably be taking the site down because model year 24 will be coming out. But the biggest thing that we had, what I was trying to measure was conversion. So every time someone built or clicked on the build and buy button, we called that a soft conversion. And then we said that because that took them right into our Toyota.com pipeline, and we were considering that a sale. So we sold, what was it here? That's a little high. It should only be 854 units when this was taken to about 2 weeks ago. We're hoping to get to 1,000 units by the time we take this down in late December. But these were the findings. We didn't know the dealerships were going to use it as a kiosk, a sales kiosk. That was a nice find. We had more than 3,000 dealership personnel in the U.S. using this, 7,000 globally. Again, something we hadn't planned on going globally. Again, we sold over 800 units. Our interactivity is high at 65%. That means people aren't just letting it sit there, actually interacting with it. And then we provided all our dealerships with tablets. They aren't using them, we found out. They're using either a standard workstation as a kiosk, or they're just using their phones. And then we found that we increased our traffic to Toyota.com quite a bit. They have different metrics on Toyota.com, which I don't have access to, but we actually did spike we spiked usage on the site that usually doesn't do much. And this is a low volume sale car. We really hit a home run here, which is really surprising. And this is an example of what we sent out. This little flyer is what we sent out to the dealers. I made the QR code bigger in case you want to use it. I haven't had a chance to test it on a iPhone 15 yet. Mine hasn't arrived. But if anyone has one, please test it and let me know. And that was the site. I made it up on the fly. I needed somewhere to take them to. It actually redirects to a Groove Jones site because they're hosting it. I had to go outside our IT structure just because this was an experiment. And I didn't, with 8 weeks time, I didn't have time to go through an architecture review, a cloud review, and a cybersecurity review. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to go outside. This way it's no risk to Toyota. So that's kind of how I did that. And what else happens? So Amy's usually up here. She's VMAX. She leads the Toyota Crown marketing team. She couldn't make because we're getting ready to do Toyotathon and Lexus to Remember in December. I'm obviously here, and Dan from Groove Jones has, he's basically our technical guy. I outsourced all that to him. So all the artwork and all the fancy stuff he did. And they do a good job for me. I usually use them when I do anything that's consumer facing. If it's internal, we tend to do it, but then it looks like a group of engineers did it as opposed to nice and cool. But with that, I'll kind of open up to questions. I know I went quickly, but. Sure.
Yeah, very good. Ron Thompson with Kale. So what's next?
Yeah, I know. I've proven that immersive tech does sell. So I've shocked a lot of the people in marketing sales. It's kind of up to them if they want to get serious about this or not. They've been dragging their feet and just going with the cheapest bidder, and now they realize, well, we can do this mostly in-house, and we have to have a real plan. So they need to come up with a real plan. They know where I'm at. Actually, the Mirai team came back to me, and I just started the Mirai project. So we'll be launching a new version of this for the Mirai site. That'll be live in January. And so yeah, what's next? I'm not sure with marketing sales. We'll see where they want to go. Any others? All right, I think we're back on schedule then. Thanks.